Before we start using this program, just like any other new tool, it is important to learn about what we are looking at on the screen. The application can be overwhelming if you are new to it. There are simply many buttons and lots of moving things as you move your cursor across the screen. So let's systematically work our way around as if we were looking at a new apartment. The first area up here to the top left, this is the application button. So oftentimes I'll say we need to go to the application button and click on something in here. This is what I'm referring to as this button right here. When we click on this button, we have a menu that drops down, and a lot of the common functions that we see in many Windows applications such as New, Open, Save, Save As are listed here. One area that people often overlook is this Options button down here. And by clicking on that, we gain access to the ability to control the way that Civil 3D behaves. So sometimes there's an arrow over here to the far right side, and this indicates that there are more tabs across the top, but on my particular screen I don't have it. It may be because of the screen resolution that I'm running at. So if you're at a smaller screen resolution, this window may be smaller and then all the tabs cannot display, so sometimes you'll have an arrow over here to the right side indicating that there's more tabs that you can select. You may need to come here from time to time. So for example, you may need to come here to apply your NCS pen tables and styles in the plot and publish area. You may also want to turn off the ability to auto select things as your cursor rolls over things to improve performance. So in this particular example I have it turned off because I'm working with a rather large terrain, and if my cursor had to select each and every single item it would really slow down my ability to basically manipulate the scene. So there's a lot of options in here that allows you to manipulate the way that Civil 3D behaves. So I'm going to go ahead and click cancel to this, and so I didn't really make any changes. The next area is the area next to this application window, and they call this the quick access bar. So on the quick access bar are a lot of tools or buttons that Civil 3D thinks that you might need. So we have New, we have Open, Save, Plotting, Undo, and Redo. Next to this bar is the Workspaces. Workspaces are kind of similar to real-life workspaces. So kind of imagine that you're in your house and you have a workspace in your kitchen, one in your garage, and one in your study. Each has some common elements such as a space to lay things out and an area containing tools to do or perform a specific task. But each workspace is unique depending on the work you are doing there. In the kitchen you're cooking, in the study you may be writing, and in the garage you might be doing carpentry type work. Civil 3D's workspace kind of operates in very much the same way, except you don't have to move to different rooms in your house. Everything is done here in this interface. When we switch workspaces, our tools are rearranged and new ones may appear and some may disappear. So to switch workspaces, all I have to do is click this drop down up here. Notice that you also have the ability to customize your workspace. I don't really recommend doing this until you become comfortable with using Civil 3D, so I recommend using some of the built-in ones here. So the Civil 3D workspace obviously gives you access to a lot of the civil engineering tools. Drafting and annotation allows you to just do basic 2D type drafting. So those tools become available. So you can see up here how the home menu has changed. So if I go back to Civil 3D, you can see that that home menu changes again to tools that civil engineers would use. Now if I go to 3D modeling, our menu again changes. We also have this new tool palette that appears that has some 3D objects in it. So this allows us to create some 3D objects. These are the tools here that allows us to create 3D objects. And then we have planning and analysis, and of course our menus are going to change up to things that are related to planning and analysis. So the names kind of give you a hint as to what the workspaces might be used for. So I'm just going to switch back to the Civil 3D. The next area next to our workspaces is called the AutoCAD Autodesk, AutoCAD, Civil 3D, and then we have an actual drawing name here. So if I was to open a new drawing, I'm going to just click New over here. We can see that our drawing name becomes Drawing 2. And if I clicked on a new drawing again, we would have Drawing 3, Drawing 4, Drawing 5. So basically our drawing name is up here at the top. It can be kind of useful to kind of check this up here because sometimes, you may be working in the wrong tab and you might make changes to the wrong drawing. So every once in a while you might want to look up here and just make sure that you are editing for the correct drawing. It does happen from time to time, especially when you're tired. The next area, this whole thing up here at the top, is called the Communication Center. This area requires, of course, an internet connection. I do recommend using this help menu. It is extremely useful. Historical, like very old releases of CAD, the help menu was not very helpful at all. So for example, you don't have to go through help just by clicking on this. Sometimes you can just roll your mouse over a tool. So let's try this one here. And if we just hold it there, it pops out with some more information. And while I have my mouse over this tool, I can go ahead and just press F1. And it will pull up the help menu for that particular tool. So as you can see here, it gives you a lot of information very specific to that particular tool. So yeah, the help menu didn't used to be useful a long time ago, but they really revamped this up to make this pretty darn useful. The next area are these ribbon tabs. So depending upon the workspace, of course, your number of ribbons and the contents of the ribbons are going to change. And they try to group them up by particular tasks. So here we have palettes. So these are the different palettes that you can have open. These are all the tasks that's related to creating ground data. The next one is to create design. So these are all of the tools related to creating something on the surface, like corridors or profiles or alignment or grading. The next one over is profiles and section views, and then we have drawing, modify, layer. So they're basically kind of grouped up by sort of like tasks, but kind of not. So we can see that all of these are very similar. And you may also find that there's more tools than that are being shown within this group. So you'll have a little arrow here next to it. So for example, if we go to draw, we can see that there's more tools related to drawing. A common thing that students like to do, and it usually happens by accident, is they'll click on this thing here at the top. Let's see if mine will do it. Yeah, it'll do something like this. And if you're new to CAD, you kind of freak out because you're just kind of like, oh no, all of my buttons are gone, I don't know where they went to. And this button up here is just simply a toggle that allows you to make the menu smaller or bigger. So if you're a kind of a veteran user of CAD, you probably have all of the commands memorized, and having this tool palette up here may be cumbersome to you because it takes up a lot of screen real estate. So what Autodesk has tried to do is kind of respect the veteran user, but at the same time allow new users to be able to use this application by keeping this ribbon here to make it more user friendly. So all of the commands and all of the tools, like basically you don't need to memorize any more commands anymore because all the commands are pulled out in buttons here. The next area that we have is the tool space. So that's this thing over here, and you'll need to be in the Civil 3D workspace in order to see this tool space. If you don't have it and you are in the Civil 3D workspace, it may mean that you simply have it turned off like that. If you have this palettes thing open, you can close this. So to turn the tool space on, you just push on this button here. And the number of tabs that appear here is totally dependent upon which of these buttons that you may have pressed in. So typically when you open it, it goes straight to the Prospector tab. So inside of this Prospector tab are all of the objects that you can manage within Civil 3D. So another area that's useful in the tool space is if you have something selected, and I don't have anything in this drawing, so I'm going to switch over to a pre-existing open one. So if I click on surfaces, I can go down here to this tool space item view, and I can see the items that are contained within that kind of container or within that dynamic intelligent object. And sometimes it'll be grayed out like this, meaning that if I select here at this level, there's really nothing that I can do down here. But if I expand this and go into this edits thing, this shows me all of the things that were used to build this surface, and right now I only have one surface that's inside of this container. So down here at the bottom is the command line, and yours might look a little bit different. It may be that this command line is like this, it might be floating. So you can grab this and you can actually dock it. Personally, I kind of like it docked because it allows me to grab the top of this and make it a little bit bigger, because sometimes something may happen with my drawing, and because this command line, that this gray part is so short, I don't get to see it. It's like up inside the black space area. So by having this a little bit bigger, if there's a potential error or something, I get the chance to see that by having this upper part just a little bit bigger. So this is an area where you would basically type in some commands. So if I want to do a zoom extent, I could type in ZE. And notice that we have some things that pop up here, so let me back up to just Z. And Civil 3D is pretty intelligent. It knows, okay, you've typed in Z, so these are all the commands that start with Z that you might be interested. And I want to do a zoom extent, so I'm going to type ZE. And all I have to do is just click on ZE, and what that does is it allows the object that I'm viewing to be zoomed within the extents of my drawing space. So this black area here is called the drawing space. Down here at the bottom is the status bar. Now yours may look slightly different from mine. I may have more buttons than what you have or less buttons, and this has to do with version 2015 having this customization menu. So you can actually turn things on and off that you don't want to see on the status bar if it gets a little bit too busy for you. So if you're looking for something that the tutorials show that should be down here at the bottom and you can't find it, chances are it just means that it's not turned on. So if it doesn't have a checkbox next to it, it means that it's not turned on and it's not going to appear in this status bar, meaning that you'll need to click the little, like for example units, I'll need to click that and then my units will appear. So right now we can see that it's in decimal. If you want to turn it off, you just simply check it and it will turn it off for you. Other things that are kind of useful here is you'll notice that we have drawing coordinates, so we can see that this is in the state plane coordinate system, the NAD 1983 state plane coordinate system. We can tell that from the coordinate values that are listed here. Other things useful down here is the ability to go to ortho, which allows you to use something kind of similar to a T-square. And then there's the ability to manipulate annotative text. And then there's another place where you can switch workspaces. So if you don't want to roll your mouse all the way up here at the top because your mouse happens to be down here, you can change it down here. On the right side, we have what are called docked toolbars. So these are toolbars that can change depending upon the workspace that you're working in. You can also, switch these out for others. I typically don't really use these toolbars here to the right. I oftentimes forget that they're even there.